What's up? This is John Breyer, KG4AKV. Here I am at Carolina Pines Park in Raleigh, North Carolina, and this is the same place I first received the International Space Station 2 years ago this week.
This is Colonel Mike Hopkins on board the International Space Station, and I love being an astronaut. I love everything about it. I love the work. I love the people that I get to work with, and I love floating in space. Over.
And I thought I would just come back out here, and lo and behold, there's going to be another space station contact. It's going to be through the same telebridge station that it was through when I first received it, a station in Maryland. And today that station will be relaying to a school in Massachusetts. And another thing I'm really excited about is that today will be the first school contact with astronaut Tim Peake. And astronaut Tim Peake, I believe, is the first British astronaut. And so we're going to be able to hear him make his first contact before he makes a whole bunch of contacts with UK schools for a special Principia educational mission that he has going up there to kind of encourage STEM in schools in the United Kingdom. And as I said, this is the first place, or the place that I first received the International Space Station, where I first made a video, which ultimately had 12,000 views up until now, and that partly encouraged me to keep making videos to make the Space Comms channel. So I thought, what better way to commemorate that than to come out here and receive the International Space Station contact that's happening again this week. But you know what? I just can't do it. I can't do it because there's tree cover out here, and that'll block the signal. I won't get all of the signal, and I'll be able to get potentially the entire pass that Maryland gets because we're so close. Everything will line up perfectly. So I'm actually not going to do it. We're going to go to where I normally do it, which is a landfill turned into a park, which is much higher, and there's no sort of obstructions blocking the signal. So I'm going to pack it all up, and we're going to go down there, and I'll be right back. I'm back. We're here at North Wake Landfill District Park in Raleigh, North Carolina, and it's about 1 minute until the pass time. The Frederick W. Harnett Middle School in Blackstone, Massachusetts will be talking through a telebridge ground station in Maryland, and I'll be able to receive all the pass here in Raleigh, North Carolina. And they have 23 questions they're going to try to ask, and it's below freezing out here, so it's cold, and that's why my speech is a little slurred. It's very cold. So let's get the antenna up and let's see if we can hear astronaut Tim Peake, who is the first British astronaut, and this will be his very first ARISS contact. So let's go. All right.
At 12:30 p.m., emergency management reported that floodwaters in northern portions of Granville County have receded, and Harry Day.
There he is. First question, what is your favorite ISS food? Do you try food meals from other astronaut teams? Weak audio. Common mistake when they first do this, astronauts.
Hi Christina, this is Tim Peake talking to you, and as you can probably tell, I'm English, and my favourite food is a bacon sandwich, which I've managed to get into a tin, and I'm allowed about one of those every week, so it's my Saturday morning treat, a bacon sandwich.
Is the oxygen you breathe on the ISS recycled, made, or brought up by supply missions?
Hi Hassan, that's a great question. Well, you know, initially the oxygen was all brought up here on supply vehicles, but now we try and recycle as much as possible, and we make oxygen out of water using electrolysis. So H2O becomes hydrogen gas and oxygen gas, and then we even use the hydrogen gas mixed in with the carbon dioxide that we breathe to make more water. So we try and recycle as much as possible on board the space station. Over.
Does the ISS make noise? What causes the noise, and how do you deal with it?
Hi Luca, yes, there's quite a bit of noise up here depending on what experiment's going on and which segment we're in. Mostly the noise is caused by ventilation fans, which is what we need to keep the air flowing so that we don't get pockets of carbon dioxide. So we just basically deal with the noise, you live with it, get used to it. But if you really want to sleep, you can put some earplugs in when you sleep. Over.
On the ISS, do you eat more or less than you did on Earth? What types of fresh food do you get from the supply missions?
Hi Haley, I'm eating about the same as I did on Earth now. Initially, for the first 2 weeks, I probably ate less just because I was getting used to space and I didn't really know how much I needed to eat. But suddenly I found my appetite again, so I'm probably eating just as much as I did on Earth. Over.
What fun activities do you do in space? Number 5 of 23.
Hi Mallory, great question. I've only been up here 2 weeks, and so for me the most fun I can have is just going to the window and looking down on beautiful planet Earth, and every time I go there I see a different part of the planet. I always take my camera, and that's the most fun thing. I think that, and also being able to call friends and family, and of course to speak to people like you via the ham radio. It's all great fun. Over.
How do you wash your clothes? What is the room temperature on the ISS?
Hi Aidan. Well, you know, we can't really wash our clothes up here, so we just wear them a long, long time. And for example, our sports kit we get to change out once a week, but a pair of trousers has to last us at least a month, and then we just put on a new pair. Over.
What was the strangest experience you've been through in space?
Could you just repeat that question? I missed that one. Over.
What was the strangest experience you've been through in space?
Yeah, great question. We normally keep about 21 degrees Celsius, and it's a quite comfortable temperature. And of course, we're in a normal pressurized atmosphere, just like you are on planet Earth. Over.
That was what is the room temperature on the ISS. Now, what was the strangest experience you've been through in space?
Hi Caitlin, I think the strangest experience was probably getting to the International Space Station, you know, to be launched into space on that Soyuz rocket, and then to go through the whole rendezvous and docking procedure, seeing the space station coming towards you, this huge, great space station. I think that was probably for me the strangest experience.
Do you get to bring one or more personal possessions to the ISS for your time in space? What did you bring? We're at the max elevation right now, about 50 degrees, middle of the pass.
Hi Natalie, yes, we do get a small allowance, and you know, I pretty much filled up mine with photographs and letters from friends and family, which is lovely. So I've got a small crew quarter, and I've got all the walls are plastered now with photographs of friends and family and letters from home. So it keeps me connected with my friends and family back home. Over.
What inspired you to be an astronaut? When did you realize this?
Hi Ariana, that's a great question. I've been inspired by many things throughout my life, but you know, I followed the space program very closely, and when I became a test pilot, for me to have the opportunity as a test pilot to become an astronaut was just the pinnacle of my career, and I was inspired by many of the astronauts I spoke to, asking them about their career and what it was like, and I decided that was the route I wanted to take.
How is sleeping in microgravity different in space? Is it a restful sleep?
Hi Logan, I'm enjoying sleeping in space, yes. I don't have any problem sleeping at the moment, and I just like to float around in my crew quarter, so I don't tie myself down. It's only a small crew quarter, so occasionally I bump up a wall, but it doesn't really wake me up, and it's quite fun to just float there. It's a lot of fun, in fact. Over.
What are some dangers of being on the ISS?
Hi Jessica, well we're always cautious on the space station of things like a depressurization if we were hit by a micrometeorite. We always try and avoid any fires on board the space station, that would be bad, or any sort of toxic atmosphere. They're the three main dangers, but we practice those emergencies regularly and we're all trained to deal with something like that if it should happen. Over.
Are you on Twitter? Would you be able to send out a tweet either saying hello to us or saying that you spoke to FWHMS here in Blackstone, Massachusetts?
Hi Myra, yes I am on Twitter, Astro_Tim Peake, likewise with Tim Coper and Scott Kelly up here, we're all on Twitter, so we will definitely send out a tweet after this contact, so look out for that one. Over.
What type of tools do you use on a spacewalk? Where do you keep them while working?
Hi Joshua, great question. Well, the tools we use depend on what we're doing, and in fact in about 10 days time myself and Tim Coper will be doing a spacewalk, and we have to replace a unit out by the solar panels. So we'll be taking some ratchet wrenches, some powered drivers, socket drivers with us, and also even some contingency tools like brushes and things for cleaning things in case it doesn't go very well. So it really depends on the job that we're doing, the tools we take. And we have small screw-lock bags that we take with us the size of about a shoebox, and we put all of our tools into there. Over.
What do you do daily? What is your favorite place? What jobs or tasks do you do daily on the ISS?
Well, there's a number of things we do daily just to keep the space station going, revitalizing the water system. Of course, we do cycle all of our urine as well here into drinking water, and that's something that we have to keep on top of every day, managing those kind of systems. But if we're doing that's the main part of the space station. Along with maintaining it, we're also doing lots of things on a daily basis.
What is your favorite place to be on the ISS? Why?
Yeah, it's that big old window again.
What is your favorite place to be on the ISS? Why?
It takes about 2 months to really feel fit and strong. Actually, it takes the whole body about a year to recover the full count. It takes 2 months.
That was. How long does it take? That was how long does it take for an astronaut to regain their strength, muscle, and bone health once they are back here on Earth? Next, I am a 7th grader. I choose a virtual middle school course called Space Station Academy. I think that's it right there. Yeah, that's the end of the pass for me, and it was already getting kind of weak. Okay, we just listened to astronaut Tim Peake talk to a school in Massachusetts through a telebridge station near Baltimore in the DC area, Maryland, Washington, DC. And that wasn't a very easy reception. I think normally when I receive the ISS, it's to the west and south. And this time it was to the west and north and east. So I've read that it's the signal is better on certain sides. When you're on certain sides, like fore and aft or whatever of the ISS, and I think I experienced that today because the signal faded really quickly towards the end there, and it was kind of hard to pick up in the beginning, although that's usually it's hard to pick it up in the beginning. So anyway, it was still a cool reception. Got to hear some decent number of questions, and it was successful even though it's very cold out here, and I'm glad I did it now. It's always fun to come out here and listen to the International Space Station. Let me show you my setup a little bit and you can get an idea how some of this works. Okay, first thing to take a look at is my antenna. This is an Arrow 2 satellite antenna, and it's set up right now just for VHF, 2 meters, and it has separate elements that go perpendicular to the 2-meter elements, so they go right there. And you can use that for working LEO satellites, little orbiting repeater satellites, FM repeater satellites. Normally that's what this is made for, but it's great just for 2 meters all by itself as well. And then that feeds into my radio. This is a Kenwood TM261A 2-meter FM radio. Let's see, I started off at 145, 805. Normally for lower passes, lower elevation passes, I don't deal with Doppler effect. Doppler effect is something you have to deal with because the International Space Station is traveling at 17,500 miles per hour, which is a very high speed. And just like when a truck is barreling down the road and passing you and happens to blow its horn, initially it sounds higher in frequency, and then as it goes by you, it sounds lower in frequency. So just like with that, when you're receiving radio signals from a source that's moving, you actually have to tune up a little bit in the beginning and then tune to the actual center frequency that it's transmitting on right when it's in the the closest to you, or passing you right overhead in this case, and then as it goes away from you, you tune down. And usually I don't have to mess with that because it's so far away that the relative speed doesn't change that much. But this was a higher elevation pass, it was closer, so I needed to, though I was playing around with it in the beginning, switching back and forth, and I don't know, I couldn't really tell a big difference. So it's not as important at 2 meters. When you get into 70 centimeters to like 400 megahertz UHF frequencies, it becomes more important. The Doppler effect is more dramatic at higher frequencies. So that was something that I had to keep in mind, and it wasn't that hard though. It wasn't that impactful in this situation. Okay, so here are the questions. I had the printout and have the pass timings right here, and then the azimuth and the max elevation, 50 degrees. And I use the azimuth and that's cardinal directions basically. And I get my compass out, which is right here, and I figure out which azimuth point for the beginning to look at, and and then I mark it, and in this case it was right there. And then the high point of the pass was right here, and then the low point of the pass on the other end was right here. So that's how the radio and the antenna is directional, which is important to know. One other thing I want to explain is that you may have noticed me switching the antenna orientation, like spinning it basically. Sometimes I had it horizontally and sometimes I had it vertically, and that's called polarization. And when signals come from space, when they go through the ionosphere, there's something called the Faraday rotation, which causes the polarization of the radio waves to appear to change as they come through the receiver, as they come into the receiver. So you actually have to change the polarization of your antenna to get the signal right, because when you have an antenna that's horizontally polarized and the signals are vertically polarized, you lose a lot of the signal. So that's what I was doing there. I can say that the International Space Station is in LEO, low Earth orbit, and that means that it's a few hundred miles above the surface of the Earth, and I think it's around 200 miles. And for many satellites that are in that orbit, they all have to go the same speed essentially, and what they do is their inertial force, the speed that they're going, is equal to the gravity that's on them. So for example, if the space station went faster than it goes right now, it would fly out of orbit because its inertial force would be greater than than gravity. And if it went too slow, it would be, it would come towards the Earth and burn up in the atmosphere. And they periodically actually have to boost the International Space Station so that it goes up a little bit higher. And they do that because there's actually drag up there, because the atmosphere still kind of gets into where, I believe it's the atmosphere or something, maybe not the atmosphere, but there's still some drag. There's some gases up there, I believe, from the Earth. And maybe somebody can explain to me exactly what's causing the drag, because I can't remember. If you know, put it in the comments down below. Once again, this is the 2-year anniversary when I first received the International Space Station, and I did that, 2-year anniversary within the week. And I first did that at a different place, Carolina Pines Park, and I was there earlier. And I thought about maybe doing it there again, to kind of commemorate this event, and the fact that was where I first made my video and put it up, and since then it's gotten 12,000 views. And over that period, seeing the interest in it from people kind of encouraged me to make another video. So I thought about making another video there, since this contact was happening the same week, 2 years later, and also through the same telebridge station as it was last time, the same one in Maryland. And I didn't do it because I just really like to get as much of the signal as possible, and I'm glad I didn't do it there, because I had a difficult time getting the signal here. So it would have been hard to have gotten it there. I wouldn't have gotten it. It would have been even worse. So that's that. And now I will say 73 to you, which means best wishes, and thank you for watching. This is John Breyer, KG4AKV. Bye.